Good morning, welcome into 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel. You can also listen on the PGA TOUR radio network on Sirius XM. I am Gary Williams and we are presented by Century Insurance, right by you. They do the right things when it comes to the game of golf. Their partnership with the First Tee, not to mention the United States Golf Association, and of course sponsoring the first event of the calendar year on the PGA Tour. Golf Pride. Players at every level trust Golf Pride more than any grip. It's not close, and for all the good reasons, including the Align Max, the new grip available to you. You can go to their website at golfpride.com. Peter Millar, when it comes to apparel, luxury and style, and refining it for more than 2 decades, everything I wear is Peter Millar. And then finally, Pinehurst Resort, the cradle of American golf. And I will be there Friday, whether there's snow on the ground or not, because there's nothing like a day in Pinehurst, and they've got new cottages available to you in the month of May at Pinehurst number 8. I'm looking forward to this show, not only because we get to end the show with Dogs of the Week. Send them in, by the way. We've got a ton lined up. We may get to yours by, who knows, Father's Day. Dogs at 5clubsgolf.com. It's the people who are going to join me on this show. Cole Hammer is somebody who you go, yes, I know him. He played in the U.S. Open. Well, actually, he's played in 3 of them, but he played in his first when he was 15. That's right. Qualified for the 2015 U.S. Open at Chambers Bay. He then went on and became one of the best juniors in America, headed off to the University of Texas, won a national championship, won the McCormick Award, represented the United States twice on Walker Cup teams. And he is going to become a contributor to this program, sharing his journey. And I can promise you, when he joins us on a monthly basis, we're going to spend very little time talking about his greens hit and regulation. It's about his journey. And then also on this program a little bit later on is Paige Spiranac. She's got a massive following. She is one of the most important influencers, not just in golf, but really anybody associated with any sport. How has she done it? And how has she also dealt with things that she's been very transparent talking about, like real life stuff, like anxiety, and dealing with stuff that is very challenging to do. She was one of the best junior golfers in America, went off to the University of Arizona, and then left to go to San Diego State, tried to play professionally, had a modest level of success, and then figured out a way to not only monetize a path in the game of golf, but really become one of the most recognizable figures associated with the industry of golf, which gets me to just a thought or two as we start this Wednesday, because every day, if I'm being responsible, I wake up and I read a certain little thing that I get every day on my phone. It's called the Daily Stoic. And it just so happened that today when I woke up and I looked at the Daily Stoic, which is something I recommend to a lot of people because it's an offshoot of something that Ryan Holiday, who's a great writer, has created, which is getting your mind in a good place, thoughts, things that might be applicable to your life and things that maybe you can apply to your life. And today was about the fact that we're all on our own journey and that we spend a lot of time trying to understand things out there. And that's natural. Look, I hope that you're inquisitive. I hope that you're curious. And I hope that you're trying to understand things that are out there. But the more important thing is to understand this, yourself. And that is the most important part of all of our journeys. And that gets me to golf and your journey. If you're watching right now, you're invested in golf. And as we said when we started this program on January 6th, we want this show to be personal. We want you to feel like we are touching on all aspects of the game of golf, not just merely satisfying those people who care about professional golf, because you play golf, so you have a relationship with the game. And I can promise you there are a lot of times my relationship ain't good, but I keep coming back. And why do we? Because there's something about it that keeps us attached to it. And like I said, the 2 people that are going to join me on this program today are high achievers. High achievers when it comes to playing the game of golf, and in the case of Cole Hammer at the age of 25, trying to pursue the summit, which is the PGA Tour and currently a member of the Korn Ferry Tour. And then with respect to Paige Spiranac, her journey is most interesting because it's very, very public. But with a very public life comes certain challenges. So yeah, we're going to talk about Instagram, or we're going to talk about social media, and we're going to talk about the content creating council that she is now a part of as it pertains to the PGA Tour. We're also going to talk about, the things that make you pause and make you stop and challenge you. So as we begin on this Wednesday, the recommendation, add the Daily Stoic to your life. It's a great way to kind of get some equilibrium every morning. When we continue here, the newest member of our community of voices, Cole Hammer, a guy who's done a lot in the game of golf, who is on his pursuit to get the best out of himself in this game. And like I said, his appearances here, much less about strokes gained putting and much more about the exploration of yourself through the game of golf. We're back on this Wednesday edition of 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, and please listen on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. We're back right after this. Welcome back in. This is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. You can listen on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Pinehurst. I'm going there Friday. They could have snow on the ground. I'll find plenty of things to do. But if there isn't, I'll play Pinehurst number 10, voted the best new public golf course in America in 2024. I'm very excited to welcome in a guy who's going to join me now because he is going to be a part of this program, part of the 5 Clubs family, a member of the Korn Ferry Tour. He won a national championship at the University of Texas, achieved everything you could at the amateur level. And I'm speaking of Cole Hammer. Good morning, my friend. How you doing?
Good morning, Gary. Cannot complain. It's a little bit cold down here in Houston, but other than that, doing fantastic.
Hey, listen, I know it's a big day in the Hammer household. Mom's birthday. Happy birthday to her. I know you're going to have a little celebratory dinner tonight. All the best to them. And as I said, Cole, when you and I started talking, just to share this with everybody, I said, look, I want this to be about your journey. And yeah, at times you and I are going to talk about golf and a good week you had, and maybe even a bad week you had. But I want people to understand that you're on a journey. It's self-exploration, it's growth, it's development. And you're like, you know what, I want to do that. So let's do just that. And let me start with this, as somebody who has wanted to do this basically his whole life. This is not something you woke up when you were 18 and said, I want to do this. You played in the U.S. Open when you were 15. And in a young life like yours, junior golf and going to junior tournaments, their parents present, and then you go off to college and you're with the team and you travel together and you practice together. Now you're doing this as a professional, and it can be very lonely. What has loneliness at times taught you about you?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. In junior golf, family members, parents are traveling with me. And all junior golfers for that matter. And then in college, you have a built-in team and a support system. So you're not making, plane flight reservations, hotel reservations. You're not renting a car on your own. All of that's kind of done for you. And, obviously that changes when you, decide to put professional next to your name. And, it's taught me a lot. Luckily, I still am traveling with a really good friend of mine, Nick Costello, who's my caddy. And so I've dodged the loneliness bullet, a little bit in that sense. But actually, right when I turned pro, I traveled the whole summer, by myself. And that was kind of an eye-opening experience for me. I learned, what kind of makes me tick as an individual versus with a team. When I was in college, I used to hate getting up early. I used to hate plane flights, and now that's completely flipped just because I'm making that decision now. Like, I'm totally a morning person. And if you had told me that when I was 18, I wouldn't have believed you. So I try to get my practice rounds in early, and now I love people watching at airports, and flying is a great time for me to decompress. So, there is definitely some loneliness out there, but there are perks to, being independent as well.
You told me when we were on the phone a little bit over a week ago that you now love traveling. Why do you think that is?
I do. And like I said, I didn't really enjoy it, in college. But now it's become one of my favorite hobbies. Growing up in Houston, I, obviously traveled for junior events and whatnot, but we're typically traveling to Florida or Georgia, places with warm climates, and not traveling that far. And since turning pro, I've been lucky enough to kind of globetrot, kind of just in North and South America. Haven't made it over to Europe as a professional yet, but I've seen some incredible places and meeting new people and seeing cultures that I wasn't familiar with growing up. Immersing myself in a culture where English is not the primary language, and having to figure out, how to get around and just kind of adapting to the environment that I'm in. And then I am a huge sucker for natural beauty. And so, whenever I'm near an ocean or in the mountains, so, in Panama a couple weeks ago, right on the ocean. And then, in the middle of the summer, we go to Denver, and I like to go hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park. So I'm not afraid to get out and be adventurous when I go to these places, just because I might not ever find myself back there and golf is a great excuse to get me to these places. So I've fallen in love with it.
I heard something and read it, and then read it again from Patrick Rogers, who was, heading into the final round out there in San Diego with a chance to win. And he said, I want to go out tomorrow and not play with the expectation, but play to achieve. And I'm like, God, that is awesome. And expectations are important, but I think sometimes expectations can make you resentful about other people, about things. The idea of going out and achieving things, do you generally try to have a certain state of mind, especially when it comes to competitive round? Where do you want your mind to be when it's time to go?
Yeah, I watched that video a few times from Patrick. I think it was super insightful, and something that, I actually relate with. I had I guess a pretty decorated amateur and junior career, and I was kind of in the spotlight early on, just having qualified for that U.S. Open when I was 15. And so there were expectations that came along with that. And I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I think expectations are great, and kind of flashing forward to now, I think expectations are for yourself, and like process expectations are really important, because if you don't expect, the highest level of discipline or responsibility from yourself, then, those goals, probably will be out of reach. But if you're playing to meet your other people's expectations for outcome, I think it's very limiting. It's almost playing to lose versus pushing forward to trying to do something great, which is, I think, what Patrick means by achieving. And so basically on a daily basis, I expect I expect myself to work hard and be in the right space mentally when I'm going into a shot, over a shot, before a round. And I'm just, and then at the end of the day, I am hoping that it'll lead to great things, but if not, at least I can hang my hat on the fact that I gave it my all. So yeah, it's fun having the opportunity on the Korn Ferry Tour to go out and try to earn my PGA Tour card. In a perfect world, that happens at the end of this year, and I'd be over the moon about it. But I'm not gonna set an expectation that I have to do it, because that's just perfectionism at the end of the day. And as we all know, in golf, that's pretty much unachievable. And so I expect to believe in myself. I expect to, work hard. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to push towards achieving my goals.
Well said. You're off to Argentina. I think it's a different golf course. You played well in Argentina last year. Here's the thing. I expect people to invest in you because you're sharing this with us. And like you said, hey, look, you have certain expectations of yourself. You've got certain goals, and that's the pursuit, and that's the fun part. Like I said, I'm excited that you're a part of this with us, and looking forward to be checking in with you when it is convenient for you. We don't want this to be a burden. We want this to be something you're going to enjoy. We think you are. Most important, we think the viewer is going to enjoy you sharing your insights along the way. Happy birthday to Mom. Look forward to talking to you and being with you throughout the year. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Gary. Hopefully next time we talk, my Spanish is a little bit better.
There is Cole Hammer, the newest member of the Five Clubs family. All right, when we continue Club 5, yep, we do it on a Wednesday morning, opening up just that. We're back here on Five Clubs, right here on Golf Channel and the PGA Tour Radio Network. We're back right after this. We are back on this Wednesday. It is Five Clubs on Golf Channel. Also listen on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. In this segment brought to you by Peter Millar, every single thing I wear. And that's the beauty of Peter Millar, which has been refining luxury and style for the last 2 decades, is that if I'm going to the gym, if I'm going to a function that requires coat and tie, if I am playing golf, it is the deepest apparel line, and it's not really close, and that is why the website, petermillar.com, is so dangerous, because I will always find 1 or 12 things that I feel like I need. And I guess I do. All right, let's get to the club. Club 5 on a Wednesday. It's our own hot list as we try to understand exactly the best way to present the players we think who are in the best form. And let's start with number 5. And this is somebody who won on the West Coast, played well in other events as well, and that is Sepp Straka. He won the American Express. He was the 54-hole leader at the AT&T. And so is someone like that maybe due for an off week? Sure, but 4 top 15s in the first 6 weeks of the season is definitely going to get you into the club. Now, at number 4, he wins for the first time on the PGA Tour. Not only did he win for the first time, he won by a touchdown and an extra point, and that is Thomas Dietrich. So Thomas Dietrich not only did that, he also had another top 5. And yes, was he due for a little bit of a letdown? I can't even imagine for a guy who has already rolled the odometer past the age of 30, what it was like in the aftermath, and then to head to a signature series event, and he had a flat week. We give him a pass. At number 3, launching his way into the middle of the club is Ludwig Åberg. He may be there a while. He may be after hours, because not only does he win by birding the 4 of the last 6 holes at Torrey Pines to win the Genesis Invitational. He was 5th at the Century. The other 2 starts he was sick as a dog at the Farmers Insurance Open. He had to withdraw from Pebble Beach. So he's really only played 2 events, and he has a win and a 5th. At number 2 is Rory McIlroy. He did not have a good weekend putting at the Genesis Invitational, but he won at Pebble Beach. He was 4th at Dubai. His bad weekend, one of the worst putting weekends of his career, he still finished 17th in an elite field. So he is at number 2. And at number 1 is the number 1 player in the world. And yes, he's, I guess by our own metrics and measurements, he is due to win a golf tournament on the PGA Tour, and that is Scottie Scheffler. Consider this. He didn't really play from September until he showed up at the Hero in December, and he won that in a walk. And then he was going to play earlier in the calendar year, and then he cut his hand on Christmas, and that prevented him from starting the year when he wanted to. So he shows up later, finishes tied for 9th. Then the top 25 was like him finishing last, at least in our own minds. And then he finished 3rd. Here's the thing about Scottie Scheffler. 3 starts, he's already top 5 in strokes gained total, and his putting has been solid. 27th in strokes gained putting on the PGA Tour, and now he goes to the East Coast and he goes to places that he has won more than once. Bay Hill and the Players, and looking for the trifecta at the Stadium course. So there is your Club 5. We're going to take a break. When we continue, I say your name and you go, oh yeah, I know her. Who doesn't? Paige Spiranac, A journey unlike many, if any, in the industry of golf, and somebody who could really play and then figured out, I can make a life in this game, but it doesn't mean that it's always been perfect. She is going to be forthcoming about her journey. Looking forward to this conversation. She joins me next right here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. Back with Paige right after this. Welcome back in. It's the bottom of the hour here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. And this segment is brought to you by Golf Pride. Their new Align Max grip is available. Every player at every level, it's the most trusted grip globally in the game of golf. And joining me now is somebody who's one of the biggest stars in the industry of golf, kind enough to be joining me on this Wednesday morning, coming off of one of the most probably exhausting double dips you can do, which is a combination of the Super Bowl and then the WM Phoenix Open. And I'm speaking of Paige Spiranac. Good morning. How you feeling?
I'm surviving. I'm happy to be here, though, so we're excited.
Well, thanks for doing this. You know, the fact that somebody who is in the industry of golf, who's not the #1 ranked player in the world, can go down Radio Row at the Super Bowl and everybody wants to talk to her, speaks to your popularity. Was that in any way overwhelming, or were you like, God, this is a ton of fun? No, this is not exhausting.
You know, it's so funny. When I started doing this almost 10 years ago now, I never thought that I would be in this position. And I am so incredibly blessed to do what I do. I have the most amazing job and I never take it for granted. And so walking down Radio Row and talking to everyone, it was so exciting. And I just have these pinch me moments where I'm like, I can't believe that I get to do this. This is my job, and I'm so lucky that I have the community that I have that supports me.
You know, Paige, a lot of people may know your background, but let me share a little bit. Look, you come from a family of high achievers. Your dad played on a national championship college football team at the University of Pittsburgh with Tony Dorsett, 1976. Your mom was a ballerina. Your sister was a track athlete at the collegiate level. Obviously, you were a college golfer. Do you remember at a young age having a competitive bent, that you naturally were competitive, or was it the environment that you felt like you needed to be just to kind of survive the household that you were growing up in?
I've always been really naturally athletic, and I come from a big sports family, and so it was just a part of our everyday lives. But I didn't really have the competitiveness of, you know, my parents or even my sister. But sports came relatively easy to me. Even when I was in preschool, I was hanging on the jungle gym and the monkey bars. And so that's why I got put into gymnastics, because I was just throwing my body around everywhere. And I've always had the physical ability to compete at a high level, but the competitiveness and the mental fortitude to be able to compete at that level, I never had. And so that was something that I always struggled with, because I could do it, but with my mind, it wouldn't allow me to compete at that highest level, which was always something that was a little bit difficult for me.
You know, you mentioned gymnastics, and you were a very good gymnast. You dealt with some serious injury, and then you narrowed the focus to the game of golf. Do you feel at a young age that you were more confident in gymnastics than you were in golf, or was it the other way around?
I was never a really self-assured, confident little kid. I was unbelievably shy, very introverted, and I just had a lot of physical ability to be able to do these things. And so when I quit gymnastics, I fractured my kneecap twice, and I just didn't really love it. It is unbelievably challenging. At 10 years old, I was in the gym, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it was just exhausting. And so I first tried out tennis. My aunt was a professional tennis player after gymnastics, and I was like, you know what, that's not for me. It's a little too physical after gymnastics. And so my dad, who isn't the biggest golfer, but just thought that my just who I was as a person would fit the game of golf, since it is an individual sport and I could just kind of be on my own. And I fell in love with it right away, and I picked it up very quickly and started competing, within less than a year. And I wanted to play pro. I didn't even want to go to college. But again, the mental aspect of golf, which is the most challenging sport when it comes to, being mentally tough, was so hard on me. And I just could never do it when the pressure was on. And it was just so frustrating because I love the game. I loved practicing. I worked so hard at it, but then it was go time and I would be holding the club on the first tee and be like, what is this? I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I would absolutely crumble. And so I would say gymnastics was probably easier because there's less time to think and you're more reactive, but I loved golf so much more than gymnastics.
How did you handle when you got to that level where you achieve in college, you guys win a conference championship at San Diego State, you turn professional, you have some good moments, but you face what all athletes do, some sooner than others, and that's your own mortality as an athlete. Did you manage that? Did you manage it fairly well? Did it take time before you made what was your pivot to the next chapter of your life? Did you struggle with that at all?
I mean, absolutely. I finished out my college career at San Diego State and I didn't love it. I really struggled throughout college just with my relationship with the game of golf and competition. And so I took about 2 weeks off and I said, I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a break. And I was talking to my parents and they just said, let's just give it 1 year. Let's try to play professionally for 1 year. Problem was that I didn't have the financial backing to be able to play professionally. And so I was running junior golf clinics and caddying. And after I played the Colorado State Open, I looked at my phone. I was getting a ton of notifications from my friends and they were like, hey, you're going viral right now. And this was at a time when this wasn't normal. Now
Right.
You have people going viral every single day. But back in 2015, this was unheard of. And so I went from having 500 followers to 100,000 followers overnight. And my life completely changed. And I then had all these new opportunities. And because I was struggling financially, I was like, wait, I can leverage this to finance my golf career. And so that's how my media career started and also my professional golf career. They started at the exact same time, which was a lot to handle because there was no playbook of how to handle viral fame. And especially when you're, 21 years old, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was doing with life. And now you have all of these eyes on you while I'm also trying to navigate playing professional golf for the first time, which I also have a very complicated relationship with. And so I did not handle it well, to say the least. Constant breakdowns. It was just a lot to deal with. And there was no one who had done this before me to look to seek advice. And so I was just really figuring it out as I was going. And so after a year of playing professionally, I couldn't handle it. I was doing both of them. I wasn't doing either of them particularly all that well. It was also hard to deal with a ton of negativity around my golf game. And I took that very personally. And so I said, hey, I'm going to take a little bit of time off. I'll lean into media and just see how that feels. And maybe I can make some money where I can stop doing that and then lean into golf full time and play professionally. And a couple weeks of not playing golf professionally, I was like, okay, I'm going to do media full time now. I'm much better suited for this. I'm significantly happier. And I think that this is the path that I should go down, which I'm so happy that I'm able to do what I love every single day. But there is some heartache of putting your head on the pillow at night and going, I want to play golf professionally, but I failed at that. And that's just something that I have to come to terms with and something that I deal with, every single day still.
It's interesting for you to share how quickly, literally overnight, the level of attention you were getting. And look, everybody's ego to varying degrees needs to be massaged at times. And it's great to get attention. It's different to be watched, which I think at times people like yourself probably feel that. And also with attention, Paige, as you know, comes resentment. And that resentment, you can start to hear that. You can feel that. What has that been like, and how have you adapted to that and managed levels of resentment that I know you've experienced over the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years?
Yes. So when I first started doing this, I was met with a lot of resentment and hate because it was something that was different. And I came into this with a brand that is not everyone's cup of tea. And so majority of the attention that I received was negative attention. And so I had to fight that for years of my career of trying to prove who I am as a player, but also who I am as a person, because my character was often questioned because of what I loved to wear. And I think that actually, upon reflection now, I think that is why I've had such a long lasting career in media, which doesn't happen too often because of, people going viral every time. There's always someone new that you can watch. It's because I did come up with a ton of hate. It's so much easier to let people get to know you and they learn to love you in a way. And so the last 10 years from going from everyone feeling like they hate you to actually being more positive year after year after year has really helped me. I think it's hard when you come into doing any type of social media and you were beloved right away, because there is going to be a point where you're not the cool, the popular, you're not authentic anymore. It's so much harder being loved in the beginning and then learning how to deal with hate, where I learned how to deal with hate very early on. And now I'm actually getting positive feedback. And it's like, this is fantastic. And not saying that my journey was ever easy. It was very difficult. And I think if you look back, I struggled with how to deal with that and what to say and what not to say and what to do and what not to do. And ultimately, I just learned that, not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. And as a people pleaser, that's really hard for me to come to terms with. But that's what's so fun about social media, is that there's so many difference of opinions. And I think that I have so much more support than I do hate. And I always just try to focus on that.
With all this opportunity, which you have a lot of, comes choices. And one of the choices you've made is to align yourself with this content creating council with the PGA Tour. And I'm sure when you start on this, you went, at one point I'm going to be giving advice to the PGA Tour. And now here you are in this collective, people who have voice, who have an audience. Where are we with that? Have you guys gotten together? Give everybody an idea of the impact that this council can have on the overall product and the ancillary things around the PGA Tour.
It's so crazy that I'm a part of this creator council. When I first started doing this, it wasn't cool to do social media in golf, and it was kind of looked down on. And so for the progression of golf social media to get to where it is today and to have this role is such an honor. And I'm so excited. We've had a couple meetings and there's things that we're working on that I am so excited to hopefully be able to share soon. But it's been just awesome to be able to be with this group of people where we all just want to really grow the game of golf and create entertaining, fun content for golf lovers. And I think that we're going to have a big impact, and I'm excited for what we can do.
You and I, and you probably won't remember this, we had one small little conversation in the Morning Drive studios some years ago. And Paige, I'll never forget, one of the things you said to me was, I'm finding my voice. And you clearly have. And that is a reflection of a lot of things, one of which is confidence. Your relationship with Bryson DeChambeau, your willingness to be critical of him, and then finding common ground and sharing space and doing things that people consumed. What is finding your voice taught you about you?
That's such a great question. And I've been on such a journey of self-love and self-discovery over these past 10 years. And I think it had to be sped up because of being in the public eye and being so criticized and scrutinized for, everything that I was doing in the golf industry. And it really came down to self-love. When I first started doing this, like I said, and prove that I was all of these things. And I just realized that I won't make every single person happy. And so I really had to learn to love myself and also love what I do. I have a community that gets my content. And even though that's not for everyone, I'm not trying to always appeal to everyone. I think that's where creators go wrong, is that you want your content to appeal to every single person. And I've just found my community that gets my sense of humor. And at the end of the day, what I've realized is that this is not so serious, and that's okay. I think there's so much pressure on being taken seriously. And now it's like I create silly, fun content. There is so much bad in the world that when people come to my page, they're going to see something that's going to put a smile on their face. And if it's silly and it's not that serious, then that is okay. That is the goal. And just coming to terms with that is something that I think has really helped me. And it's okay if people don't have the best opinions or they like what I do. As long as I put a smile on at least one person's face, then I feel like I'm doing my job. And I always try to remember that with every single piece of content that I put out. And that's also come with being less criticizing players and people, and because I've been through it. And so, for example, with like Bryson DeChambeau, supporting him and being a place where I can uplift others and use my platform for good. And like I said, just put a smile on someone's face is all what I'm trying to do every single day.
All right, let's get Paige Spiranac out of here with 5 to go. Like she said, it's about fun, a little levity to end with her on this Wednesday. All right, tell us, Paige, the current show you're binging or consuming on a regular basis. What show are you into right now?
I have one episode left of Yellowstone, and that has been consuming my life.
Very good. I'm done with it. I don't think you will be dissatisfied if you've consumed all of it, which I think you did. All right, the last day you didn't spend a moment on social media.
Oh my gosh. Maybe when I was 15 and I didn't have a cell phone.
Like when you go on vacation, you can't just totally unplug?
You know, it's my job and I'm always connected to my work. And so I am always connected to social media, which means I'm always working.
All right. The city or country that you've never been to that you either know you're going to this year or you're determined to get to?
I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. I've never been there, and I've heard that they have amazing golf courses. I don't know if that's going to be on the list this year, but that is for sure on my bucket list.
All right. And then would you rather get up really early or be forced to stay up really late?
Really early all day long. When it hits 7 p.m., I get excited because I'm like, okay, I only have like an hour and a half, 2 hours until I can go to sleep.
Amen. Preach. 8:30, I'm like, there's no reason to keep the lights on.
I'm like, I want to go to bed now, but it's not socially acceptable, so I got to stay up just a little bit longer.
I honestly think after 7, it's acceptable. All right, last thing, the food item that makes you queasy to either hear just the name, smell it, or see it.
I am pretty good with food. I'll eat almost everything except for mushrooms. I am just not a big mushroom girl, which is weird because my favorite food is a corn dog, and I think most people would find that more grotesque than a mushroom, but yeah, not a big mushroom fan.
Listen, I appreciate you taking the time. I hope at some point our paths will cross. Continued success. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, there's Paige Spiranac. We take a break here when we continue our picks. We are awful. It's just, there's no way around it. Our team stinks at picking PGA Tour events. At some point, someone's going to pick a winner. Our selections for the week coming up next, right here on 5 Clubs. All right, we are back here on this Wednesday on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. You can also listen to us on the PGA Tour Radio Network on SiriusXM. This segment brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Century Insurance, right by you. All right, we have not been right once. We stink. And look, you either just embrace who you are or you're just going to go along just being delusioned by who you are. We are bad at this. The fact that we may not come to the East Coast without somebody picking a winner, if you look at that and you go, okay, I can't really have context of those earnings and whether that's good or not. It's not. Emma Carpenter remains out in front. I'm slightly behind her. Taylor Pendrith gave me next to nothing. Jay Billis, Gil Hance, Taylor Zarzour. And look at these two guys who played at the highest level. Bringing up the rears, so to speak, Brendan Young and Johnson Wagner, and the goose egg. We've got Mexico this week, and if nobody picks a winner, we're going to come to the East Coast with, as a collective, having not picked anybody who's won a golf tournament. I'm taking Taylor Moore this week. Finished 7th in the American Express, tied for 9th at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, 22nd at Pebble Beach. He's very good tee to green, and this is a bomber's paradise. Gil Shea takes the betting favorite, Akshay Bhatia, as does Taylor Zarzour. Emma Carpenter and Jay Billis go with Rasmus Højgaard. Brendan Young, who was in studio yesterday, tipped us off that he was going to take Steven Yeager. I like that selection. And Johnson Wagner playing Ulrich Partgeiter, the young man who played very well heading into the weekend at Pebble Beach from South Africa. And again, I know that Trevor Immelman on the CBS broadcast thought that by the end of the year that it was going to be Partgeiter who was going to be leading the PGA Tour in driving distance. Look at who's won in Mexico. And I will say this about this week. This is a golden opportunity in the absence of so many of the top players, only a few in the top 50 in the world rankings who are in the field this week. We will see. I just know one thing. I'm going to come in here Monday, and it's still going to be a 0 in the column for somebody picking a winner. We take a break. When we continue, we end the week the way we love to, with the dogs of the week, those special creatures, back on 5 Clubs right after this. We are back. Yes, dogs of the week. Send them in. Dogs at 5clubsgolf.com, our favorite segment to end the week. We're supposed to get a dusting of snow today. If that is the case, I will take my dogs out onto the golf course. I'm supposed to go to Tree Farm tomorrow. We're going to see that dog that was in the Open if we, in fact, get down there to play some golf. Where are the dogs of the week coming from this week? We've gotten it from tour players. We've gotten from Ryder Cup captains. Well, you know what? How about from someplace on the other side of the world as we take a look at the first 2 dogs coming to us from South Africa. That's right. That's Banjan, the dark dog, and then Billy Boo, the blonde one, coming from Leonard Henson. Thank you, Leonard, for sending in your dogs who are out on the golf course. That is Emily, a 9-year-old mixed breed. That is Sarah Stanek's dog. She's the second assistant at Glen Oak Country Club in Clarks Summit. Goes to work every single day. How about those 2 dogs from Zach Wignall, who's the golf course superintendent at the Legends Club in Prior Lake, Minnesota. Tyson, the Black Lab, and Izzy, the Newfoundland. Glorious looking dogs. And then finally, what club shouldn't have a dog named Blue? Now that is Blue at Southern Hills, one of the great historic clubs in America. Their golf professional, Kerry Cosby, is top of class. That's their goose dog that is handled by their superintendent on an everyday basis, the whole staff. But I promise you that Blue is probably more sensible than everybody on the staff there at Southern Hills. Thank you to everybody for sending the dogs. And again, a reminder, send them to that specific email. It is dogs@5clubsgolf.com. Next week, just to let you know, who's going to be joining us, Billy Horschel will be on the program. Thomas Dietrich, off his win at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, will be on with us. Justin Ray, who is, nobody can mine information more than Justin Ray. He will join us. Gabby Herzig. Gabby, a new contributor to 5 Clubs, will be with us as well. Also, Patrick Peterson, an all-decade member in the NFL who is golf crazy. He's going to be with us. And Josh Carpenter from the Sports Business Journal, who covers the business of golf as well as anybody. That is what we have in store for you next week. And by the way, I saw where Justin Leonard, what he does to prepare himself to play every day just goes to show you the journey in golf never ends. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Monday.